Dear friends, dear colleagues from all over the world, the current pandemic, Covid-19, caught the most of us in a phase of prosperous economic development and showed us in the course of only a few weeks how vulnerable our societies are towards such threats, even despite highly developed medical services. Before I try to give a glimpse on how the current crisis and the related restrictions for the public life affects the Austrian waste management system, I would like to thank all those who make sure that our public life stays functional in times of public lockdown. The doctors and nurses, policemen, cashiers at supermarkets and many more, but specifically I would like to address and thank the waste workers throughout the globe who make sure that the waste is picked up, managed and treated as intended. Let me now give a structured overview on how the current crisis hits a highly developed state-of-the-art waste management systems on the example of the Austrian waste sector. What are the effects and consequences that can be observed after a 2-week total public lockdown with the prospect of many more weeks to follow suit? Despite the positive news that the Austrian waste management system still works perfectly fine and is fully operational, there are following effects that are observable and affect the various actors in the Austrian waste sector either directly or indirectly. First of all, it's the waste quantities. We observe an increase in the quantities of municipal solid waste that is handled by public sector waste service providers. And on the opposite, we see a highly reduced quantity of waste to be handled by private sector service providers. In addition, there is an increase of packaging from e-commerce observable. In the domain of waste collection services, there is no effect on normal waste collection, but we see that there is diversion of protective clothing and potentially infectious waste from residual waste and routing to direct thermal treatment that is aimed for. And regarding the waste treatment services, we see that there is a drop in demand of solid recovered fuels. Let me explain how these effects are related to COVID-19 and how they come into play. Regarding the waste quantities and the split of responsibility between the public and private sector service providers, we have a rather clear-cut split of responsibilities in Austria. While there is an obligation for households to offer municipal solid waste to public sector service providers, waste from businesses and industry are usually dealt with by private sector service providers. The lockdown caused an almost total shutdown of the whole tourism and gastronomy sector, which is a very important economic sector in Austria. Also, shops apart from groceries and schools and kindergartens have been closed. All this leading to a much reduced, if not totally ceasing waste generation in these sectors. Due to the need to take care of kids that usually are taken care of in schools, kindergartens, as well as due to the general plea to social distancing and shifting to home office, many businesses and industries are operating much below capacity. Some even have shut down completely, such as, for example, the Austrian cement industry. All this leading to much reduced waste quantities in these sectors traditionally served by private sector waste service providers. On the contrary, as a consequence of people staying at home, the quantity of municipal solid waste is rather on the rise. As shopping has shifted from shops to online shops, especially the quantity of the associated packaging material has increased. Regarding waste collection services, they are functioning and they are operational. Streets are even tidier than in pre-corona times. As occupational health has always been a top priority in Austria, there is not much changes for waste workers who deal with waste. Waste collectors have been advised that waste that might be affected by the virus should be kept separate and routed directly to thermal treatment without any prior manual treatment steps like sorting of recyclables in order to contain any hazard of infection for waste workers. The last point that I would like to touch upon is the consequence of the shutdown of Austria's cement plants. The energy recovery from solid recovered fuels in cement kilns is one of the major pillars of the Austrian waste management system. The temporary shutdown of the cement kilns caused an immediate drop of demand for SRF. The situation and market environment for those who process SRF has changed very quickly, and they need to deal with the situation accordingly. Concluding, I would like to thank all managers and decision makers, and even more so the workers in the waste sector, for their responsible dealing with the situation and their efforts. And I would especially like to thank our Austrian waste sector representatives for keeping up all the services in such difficult times. I am proud of the Austrian waste management system, and I'm happy to be part of it. It is astonishing how quickly such a virus can create a global pandemic and affect almost all aspects of our lives, such as the waste sector as well. I hope you're all well and wish you all the best. Stay healthy. See you soon.